Depression and stress have taken hold of society more than it ever has in past generations. Stress is a major emotional and mental barricade that can affect the way people think and act on a daily basis. Now, even though there are many factors that could lead into depression, stress has been proven to be one of the greatest or most common factors of why people fall into depression. Now, depression can cause a number of negative effects on a person's life. There are many gateways into this state of mind, but some of the more personal factors are things such as stress, obviously, but also family history, like genetically passed down through the family tree, or maybe the type of a personality a person may possess, or certain types of medical illnesses, and also the excessive use of drugs and alcohol. Now, aside from personal factors, there are also outside factors that could take a play in leading to depression, such as things as maybe a person's job, like they're not happy where they work, maybe an abusive upbringing, long-term loneliness, or the simple fact that maybe a person can't find the job and they feel like a letdown because they can't find a job. Now, first of all, what is depression and how does it affect a person's life? Depression is a serious illness that affects the way a person thinks mentally, acts physically, and feels emotionally. And it can send a person into an intense feeling of absolute sadness and worthlessness. The emotional and physical aspect of depression can cause very strong feelings of sadness and can cause someone to feel completely disconnected from the world and utterly alone. Depression changes all aspects of your life. It makes the things that you used to enjoy seem pointless. It can affect your sleeping schedule, your energy levels, and it can also cause you to have constant fatigue, as well as feeling worthless and having absolutely no purpose on this earth, like the feeling of you having, there's no point of you being here anymore. And that can cause to the worst outcome that can possibly come up from depression would be suicide. Now, to take a scientific route of how stress can feed into depression would be, now it is scientifically proven that a regular dose of stress is good for the mind and for the brain, but it is also proven that too much stress can cause depression. Now, there are two main types of stress. There's chronic and then there's acute. Now, even though they are both two different elements of stress, they can both lead to depression. Chronic stress is the more heavy one, and it's when you find it hard to focus on things like in your life, like you're too busy thinking about maybe someone with a medical disability that you're having to take care of, such as Alzheimer's or maybe cerebral palsy. And then there's acute stress when it's hard for you to accept something that has happened in your life, such as maybe the death of a loved one. Now, when I say that a little stress is good for a person, I mean good types of stress, such as maybe getting ready for a wedding, like your wedding, or maybe starting a new job. Now, chronic stress in particular is it leads to heightened levels of hormones such as cortisol, which is known as the stress hormone, and it can also reduce your supply of serotonin, as well as other neurotransmitters in the brain like dopamine, which has been found to be strongly connected with depression. Now, when these chemical systems are functioning properly, they regulate everyday processes like sleep, appetite, energy levels, sex drive, and the normal expression of just moods and emotion, just everyday things. Now, when it comes to the loss of a loved one, back to acute stress, the emotion that is always tied in with the loss of a loved one would be grief. Now, it's been proven that it's not bad for your mind to experience grief as long as it doesn't overtake your mind and it stays there for a long period of time, because when that happens, you could also fall into a state of depression. And in today's world, we haven't seen a real big decrease, if you look at the studies, of depression rates or maybe suicide rates happening in our generation or just in the past couple of years. In fact, they're just going up and up every year. And so, according from a study from 2016, an estimated 16.2 million adults, which is 18 and older, had been recorded to experience at least one depressive episode in that year, 2016. Now, this number represented about 6.7% of all U.S. adults. And it was estimated that the females had more depressive episodes than the males, and the percentages were 8.5% for females and 4.8% for males. And they also did a study on the adolescent side, which is about 12 to 17 years old. And again, it was about 3.1 young adults had experienced at least one depressive episode. And the percentages were, again, the females outdid the males with 19.4% compared to the males' 6.4%. Now, there are treatments or maybe ways that people use to maybe get out of depression or maybe just fight it a little bit. And a very popular way would be the medication route. Lots of therapists or maybe doctors or psychiatrists, they will prescribe Prozac or Zoloft, which is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which helps increase the amount of serotonin that is being made and helps fight back the emotions of sadness and loneliness. Another way would be a better diet, just eating better, lack of junk food, maybe getting the alcohol out of your system. It provides a more positive brain functioning and overall a more positive lifestyle. And then another way would just be the therapeutic way, just talking to a therapist, getting everything out in the open that you're feeling all bottled up inside. And it also gives you a sense of relief and a sense of safety that someone is willing to listen to your problems and give you feedback as well. And finally, depression is not anything to be taken lightly. It is a real illness that can affect a person's life and everything that they do in it. And this illness can take the joy that you find in your life and deteriorate it to the point to where you don't find joy anymore in your life, like at all, if you don't treat it or take it seriously when the symptoms start to happen. And there's a quote from the artist Dan Reynolds, which reads, "People who have never dealt with depression just think it's being sad or in a bad mood. That's not what depression is. It is falling into a state of grayness and numbness." Now, this just comes to show you what depression can really do to a person who just doesn't find joy in life anymore, and just like how their overall mindset on life can become without treatment. And so I hope that this speech has helped you see the seriousness in depression and that this is nothing to take for granted. Thank you.